Hello everyone in the Gauntlet. It's another of the games in which we further explore and develop the setting for the Gauntlet of the city-state of Kriostos, the city of the Ram. Uh, so the concept of the game is to do something similar to our microscope video, which the link will be in the description. But this time we're gonna be using another game from Lame Mage. This time it's Kingdom, which is a game about telling stories about communities and the crises that they suffer. Our aim will be to work together to further develop the city. This time we're going to be doing it instead of the large overview of ages. We're going to deal more with typical days within the city, the street level. We're going to find out who is the power within the city, what the people of the city think, and their fears and anxiety about the future. So it's going to have the same tone of urban picturesque that the other Christus game had so far. And there's going to be a theme, if the previous microscope session is any indicator, of heavy costs, hard decisions, and catastrophic elements. Yeah. So looking forward for that. I want to point out that we already established some vowels and lines before we started the recording. At any moment, we might add some more, and even if we are not using for all for a party, just signal to the chat or to the video if you're going to be using the X card, or if you want to carefully curate a scene, we're going to use script change, and then we can just verbalize or type the commands that we want to use as we go to that more tense scene. And remember that this is open table policy, so if any moment, for any reason, any of you needs to leave, just go ahead. Now, it's time to go through Kingdom, and so Kingdom starts by us deciding what our kingdom is. Our kingdom that established is Kriostos, a city-state at the end of the world, built by refugees of the apocalypse that escaped to the realm of the gods, and they begin settling it. It's a country of heroes, of heavy prices, of survival being uncertain, of gods, and of strange desires and wills manipulating its events. But it's still a land of people with common concerns and that try to make the best at whatever crisis is thrown their way. So the first thing we have to decide after we decided on our kingdom is the threats. So we should brainstorm together and come up with 3 threats that are looming on the horizon. That's the thing. They might come true, they might never be a factor, they might be completely unfounded, but this is what our kingdom sees as their threats. For example, some of the examples, because the game uses the term of kingdom very loosely, basically any group of people that has more than 20 persons can be a kingdom on this game. For example, some example threats are the hospital is losing money, there are malpractice lawsuits, good doctors are going to other hospitals, while other kingdoms' threats can be the peasants are unhappy and could revolt, there is a bellicose neighbor to the east who could invade, a poor crop has raised the specter of famine. So, any ideas of which threats Curious might be facing?
My question is, where exactly in the history, because we're playing characters, right? So we're playing a period spanned by a mortal lifespan, right? So we're not doing the entire history of the City of the Realm. So
Yeah.
which period are we playing in? Because I think that will have a very big factor on exactly what the threats are that are facing the city at that time.
Yeah. Let's pull the microscope. Shit. See what.
And I would just like to put my suggestion forward for either the period of so either the period of well, actually, no, definitely the one I want to do is the division within the Union of Oracular Workers. So the Civil War, the period of Civil War, effectively, because there we have the refugees from the Lost Lands arrive. You have Maidon. You've got the different factions, and you have that 12-headed monster that assaults the wall.
Yeah.
So we have a period of time that encompasses a lot of strife and change within the city.
Yeah, and there are a lot of plot points there, but nothing way too specific. Because another good one that I was sticking beside this one would be on when Arcana is trying to become queen, but we can establish two very precise events there, and that might get in conflict with whatever we want to do.
I also think that in the with Arcana, like is a because Maidon's kind of like almost a force in that period, you know, like he's sort of nebulous, he's a sort of strife kind of thing, whereas Arcana's a ruler, right? And it'd be like the same if we started with Bastion and Ariza in that they're kind of two. We've already got their story kind of, whereas Maidon's is sort of all over the place, really.
That's true. And nobody needs to play Maiden for him to still play a role in this story, for example. So there's also not this pressure. Well, it would be a bit weird if nobody was playing the other characters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So, what are our crises then?
I'm just going to quickly flick to the threats page of the book. External orator. Well, the threats are. It should be so. I think like the civil war, the tensions. Maybe like the threat is that
that it will devolve from civil unrest into civil war. Maybe that
yeah,
can be
exactly.
a threat.
Yeah. Civil war just as a threat, right? Like because we know that there's tensions already. I imagine it as being kind of like the Montagues and the Capulets. Like there's fighting in the streets, and you know it's uneasy, but it never breaks out into open warfare. Like
Yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that my also fit is the fear of heresy, angering the gods, because one thing is when they are just shouting and punching each other on the streets, but imagine if at some point Miran really offends some of the gods, and now we all suffer for this.
Yeah, and they send a 12-headed monster to assault the walls.
Yeah, good thing something like that will never happen.
Yeah. And I suppose I feel that like the most interesting part of this period in particular is just after the refugees arrive. I know that might be like touching on a few of what we touched on as like troublesome parallels with thingy, but I think that's still the best part. I think cool. We're all agreed on that. So I would say that the other threat should be something to do with those outsiders and that influx of refugees.
I think the concern for maybe incoming disease or something like that, since we are on a fairly confined island nation, might be something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, because I mean, the city is packed, the continent is aggressive and hostile to mortals. So I can see a lot of fear for squalor and disease.
So maybe, because reading the threats, it's actually like the hospital is losing money. There are malpractice lawsuits. Good doctors are going to other hospitals. So one of the threats could be there's a fear over limited resources, or it could just be straight up just xenophobia, right? And like the way we express that is far, because I mean, like a big part of xenophobia is always there's not enough room here, right? There's not enough, like.
Sure, but that xenophobia is what happens. It's not the threat.
Yeah, I just mean as in like.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, exactly. Their fear is probably very unfounded, that the sudden burst in population and the limited resources are going to be damaging. But, they've often forgot that, hey, there's extra population. There are more hands getting more resources.
Yeah, yeah.
But
well, exactly,
the fear is there. So
yeah. So fear of fear of limited resources.
Yeah, makes sense.
Did we choose all internal threats? Thinking about it. No, the gods are an external problem, really.
Yeah. Also, how external Midon is up to debate.
Maybe Midon was an agent of the gods the whole time.
Oh, it was a test for piety. Next, we're gonna take turns to create locations. So basically, gonna create in total 6 locations for Eustace, which will then be interesting because they will be where our scenes happen. So, unless anyone has some ideas.
The outside of Shantytown.
Okay, that's a good one. Then,
let me see. The poor market is something that's been bouncing around in my head.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking the northern wall of the Wall of Bastion. Northern tower, the northern gate of the Wall of Bastion.
That would be the mainland entrance, right? And it's the other side is the port, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. You said the poor market, right, Dan?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, such an American. Sorry. just makes me think of being at school, basically, when anyone says it. I was thinking something along the lines of like a market, like a town square, like a kind of like a speaker's corner, like a sort of a pulpit, like a place where like shit goes down, basically, like people stand and talk and like.
So a roster.
Like a what?
Like a roster.
A roster.
Roster.
I guess I'm not familiar with the word in that sense.
It's basically it's a platform where speakers will address the people.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like it needs a name, maybe. Like it needs a mythically niche name.
I mean, the Column of Lamentations. So the anchorites, those column eremites. That mission, that they go there, and as long as they can stay on the column, they can keep speaking.
I do like that. I do I do want to maybe link it back to Bastion or Ariza though, like as a kind of like a you know, like something that was maybe like where Ariza told, like, you know, like a chunk of masonry that he stood upon to sort of to marshal the people.
Okay,
maybe Ariza's rally, or something like that.
Or question: Vagras, the legendary ship. It was Ariza's ship, right?
It was, yeah. I think we established that the legendary ship Vargas was Ariza's ship. Yeah.
So we could say that it was a platform made from the broken parts of Vagras after they repaired them once they landed, and that was where she made her address. So we can call it the captain's podium, or the captain's platform, or the captain's chair, something like that.
I like that, the captain's chair. I see Maidon making many speeches from the top of the captain's chair. Where is everyone writing down their locations, by the way? Because I've started putting it on my character sheet.
I'm putting down because
I see. Sorry, you're just slightly above. Yeah, slightly
because
below.
Your character then picks from the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Sorry, I literally hadn't scrolled down 2 lines.
I think some kind of arena, be it a gladiatorial or otherwise sporting arena, would be appropriate.
Okay, what would be the main sport of Kriostos?
Monster fights.
I mean, yeah.
That makes
Yeah. So, what is this arena like?
Let me see. There's probably fairly extensive holding areas. I'm seeing very Roman architecture. Let me see.
Maybe it's built against the northern wall.
Ooh.
So that as they bring in like captured monsters, it doesn't have to travel through the city. It's literally just like, you know, there's a small portcullis gate or something that you can open up and shove them in, and then you just there's like, you know.
So it's still wood, as most of these arenas were, or is it already stone?
Maybe it's mid transition. They found that wood was not sufficient to hold all of these the beasts that they bring in. So their holding facilities are specifically stone.
I like
as much
that.
as possible, but everything else can be fairly rough-hewn wood.
Yeah, I can see this expanding complex as we have the functional wooden parts and the new engineering and stonework. Yeah, that would be So the in development massive monster arena. What do they call it?
The Ram's Gauntlet.
Ooh, yeah.
I was just going to say the Gauntlet, but then I thought, on the nose maybe.
Okay, and I guess it's only one last location. So we have a residential area, 2 markets,
2 public spaces, 1 piece of infrastructure, 1 sort of like entertainment sort of like crisis point, and 1 piece of infrastructure, the northern gate.
I think I want to go for some place where the people work, like a lot of people work.
The fisheries?
Yeah, I was thinking the fisheries or a fishing village that supplies the town proper. Yeah, but I can see like there is a small isthmus prolonging into the sea, and it's all filled with these fishermen and beaches filled of fishing boats and fisheries. Yeah. And so, oh, yeah. So I would say that there is uh, the octopus peninsula, an overcrowded fishing district that extends into the sea.
I like that. We've got the great port on one, like building out from the city, and then sort of like spiraling off along the side of it is the Octopus Peninsula, like where all the small boats, yeah. And you can see the great ship Vargas off the coast on in between both of them.
Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, now we're gonna make our characters. So first of all, our character is defined by their role. There are three roles. You have power, those that have authority within the kingdom, and they decide what the kingdom does and what it does not. So basically, everyone can tell opinions, but it's always the power if decides that something happens or not. Then we have those that have perspective. They understand the kingdom and they know what are its strengths and its faults. So they provide the best advice because they can make very accurate predictions of the outcomes of the decisions of power. Then we have the touchstone. They are in touch with the general opinion of the people of the kingdom, and their whatever they say is often a reflection of the mood and the beliefs of the people. So they are in control of how the people react to the measures of power. So we can pick any combination of roles. The only requirement is that we cannot all be the same. And you don't have to overthink it too much because it's very easy to change roles in this game. So it's basically think where you want your character to be at the beginning of the game.
I think my problem is I've got too many things that I want to play now. Like, does anybody else have an idea? Because it would make it very easier for me to nail down my.
I think I'm going for a touchdown for start.
I can see myself being a perspective.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then I know we don't have to, but I will go with power. And I will choose a figure that we haven't seen in our great history yet, probably lost to time, but I will go with Guard Captain Arvan.
So I guess now we need to pick up what our person does on the kingdom, what are their jobs and duty, and what they look like. So I guess we already know what our guard captain does, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you would think, right? Like,
and what do they look like?
I think. Do either of you read Discworld? Yeah, he looks like Sam Vimes.
Okay, so we have Old Stone Face.
And he is captain of the city guard, sworn to keep the peace and protect the city from threats without and within. Or should we make that maybe protect all those within the city walls, perhaps? Because then that gives it like a kind of mythic quality to like what if you're outside of the walls, it's not really his problem technically.
I have got Alvo, the Night Soil Man. I think we are early, if at all, into our transition to a sewer system, and Alvo makes his money by transporting human waste, transferring it to useful fertilizer, and selling it either at the poor market or out in the farmland. And so he has a lot of contacts in the farmland and sort of around the city, and just happens to be fairly clever as far as imagining repercussions for the concerns of the city.
Yeah, and I'll be playing Servilla, which is a questing hero devoted to whatever gods. And she is a member of the College of Mint Workers, basically a social club of all the workers related with copper mining, with mint work, and with the stamping of the money that is used within Criastas. And because of that, they often rely on adventures to supplement their services and also to exert pressure on the political authorities. And she's still pretty young. She's missing already many teeth. She has a broken nose. She has a shaggy auburn hair, and she looks still a spunky young that came from the homesteads of the clans and is here to prove their worth, and always eager to see what life in Criustas has to offer. So next we have to pick two locations which are where we are usually found.
I don't mean to backtrack, but it occurs to me that it would be so funny to be Maidon and to just be this narcissistic, like, would it be all right to maybe change to Maidon? I just think that maybe like it'd be more interesting to have Maidon than a guard captain.
Okay, the question is Maidon power?
I think he is.
Of the game.
Well, I think he is at this point in that he's powerful, right? So like, he's not like the actual authority, but he's probably a power player in the city at this point.
Yeah.
because his prophecy about the outsiders being returned on the great ship Vargas has come true.
Yeah, it's true. So it makes sense that people probably obey him more than they actually obey the actual authorities.
Yeah, and even when they don't obey him, right? Like the authorities are reacting to him.
Yeah,
because power doesn't actually have it like perfect, do they? They don't just get to say what happens. They say what they want to happen, and then other shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. What did we call the faction of Maidan? I can't remember. It was the
Prophet of Revolution. Is that correct?
Prophet of Revolution. Leader of the faction defying Bastion's words. Defying the words of Bastion and writing their own prophecies. Cool. Yeah.
So what? Now we have to establish what Midon actually looks like. So for locations, I picked the northeastern gate of the wall of Bastion and Rom's Gauntlet Monster Arena. Figure those are two places that the would-be hero wants to be on.
Will, I'm not getting your audio at all. I can see you're speaking, but I'm not hearing.
I forgot to unmute myself.
Oh,
I've chosen the captain's chair for Maidan, and I'm thinking maybe the outside of Shantytown is the place for where he might be otherwise. We don't all have to choose different ones, even though we have done.
Right.
We kind of overlap in a location.
I've got the Poor Market. I think I may also take the captain's chair, or at least the market surrounding the captain's chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Then we get to the interesting part, the wish or fear.
Let me see here. In the
We are skipping the wish and fear.
Okay.
And we are skipping the issue. Instead, we're gonna have only bound. And when we describe the bound, we should make it ambiguous, that it's not only positive, that because of this bound, there are some threat or conflict, basically that your bound can get you in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pick to the character to the left. So I'm gonna pick Alvo. we'll pick Servilla and then pick Midon.
I think Maidon courts the favor of Servilla as a questing hero and a champion, and he seeks to inveigle her in his, sees her as a powerful, as a maybe somebody who could be a figure of legend, just like Ariza and Bastion were, somebody, a tool that he could use to his own end.
And why is that conflicting?
It's not. I would say that's a friendly relationship, or at least it's an obsequious relationship. It's like, does it always have to be a conflicting one?
There has to be a possibility of coming troubles. So even if the relationship is friendly, that maybe it angers someone else or that it's costly for some reason, there has to be always a gray zone.
I mean, I'd say the biggest conflict is clearly that Maidon is essentially looking to use Servilla as a tool, right? Now, Servilla clearly probably doesn't like to think of herself as a tool.
Yeah, so, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think Alvo fancies himself as being sort of the same faction as Maidon. Like he's one of Maidon's helpers, with the idea that he, in his entrepreneurial spirit, may one day overcome Maidon to become the leader of that faction.
Sounds good to me.
I think that Servilla thinks that Alvon is influential in what may be the most profitable industry in Criostas. And she's attracted to his entrepreneuring spirit, and basically she wants to support Alvo's efforts to organizing the other night soil folk into college or other social trade club of their own, capitalize on their influence, and that probably gets the attention of people that would really not like to see the people that hold so much power over the city to gain even more actually officialized and recognized power through organization.
Power to the people.
Okay, and I think, yeah, I think we are ready to play the game. So, to play the game, we have basically 3 cards, which we're only going to use 2. So we have the crisis, which is the next immediate thing that is going to, no, actually, basically it's a dire situation that is approaching. That will be the crisis. And then we have the crossroads, which is a single question: is the kingdom going to do this? And it's always putting something that can be put on yes or no, because it's a dilemma of about the nature of the action of the kingdom and if it's done or not. It's not to discuss the consequences of that or the threat which this is a reaction or not. To say, is the kingdom going to do this or not? So we should start by making our own crossroads. So we should think, what is the big question that is the kingdom thinking about doing or not? It should be a question that our characters care, all of them.
I think is the city going to allow the refugees from outside to settle just among the city, or will it refuse them entry or ghettoize them in some way?
Will the outsiders be granted citizenship?
Yeah, I think that's a very good. So, crossroads, will the outsiders granted citizenship? And yes, they are. No, they are still outsiders. Yes, they are now citizens. No, they are still outsiders. So next we're gonna be taking turns, creating scenes about our characters that relate to these crossroads, and then we can be using our special abilities. So the power ability is to make things happen. The power in a scene in which they might just say, well, this happens, the city does this is done, and that's their power. The power of the perspective is to put predictions of the outcome of the crossroads, so they can add, if this happened, if we say yes, this happened. If we say no, this happens. So to making one choice or another more appealing. And the touchdown is going to show how the people are feeling in relationship to the things that the power is doing and to the crossroads development. And then if this is going to cause a crisis or if it's actually helping deal with the threats to the kingdom. Yeah. And then there are other rules, which is if you don't like what someone did, you can challenge them. And then if they really resist your attempts to compromise, you can just overthrow them. And I guess we're gonna take a break now, and we're gonna start with our first scene. After, yeah, let's 5 minutes break, and we're gonna come back. Okay. Okay, I'll start with setting the first scene. So we see Servilla, and she's approaching the 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 expanding Rams Gauntlet arena as she's delivering the monthly payment for the day workers, and a vast majority of the workers that allow the sudden expansion of the arena happen to be outsiders, especially members of the mount builders, where their monster taming skills are especially useful for maintaining the arena filled with creatures to train and not have to just capture and murder them every single time. Yeah, and I think that would be the scene. So, which other character might also be there?
I think Mydon might be there. Having maybe he. Well, I don't know. Is today a day when the monster fights have taken place?
Yeah, can be.
Yeah. So I think he's there for the. He's been there to observe the monster fights. And perhaps you know, he's hanging around afterwards to speak to the outsiders and talk to these poor people who've come from the dark lands beyond the walls of the Ram and are here among us. So
Okay. So, what about Anno?
I don't think Alvo's there. I could be I could stand in as as an NPC if you'd like.
Okay.
Let me see here. So maybe the someone who's leading the ongoing construction amongst the mound builder workers.
ooh, a foreman. I like that. Now the question is the foreman a citizen of the city of the Ram, or is he an outsider himself?
Oh, that has political implications. Let's say he's a citizen of the city of the Ram.
That's what I was hoping you would say.
Okay, so because Serville and Midon are in the scene, Midon at any point can use their authority to make something happen. And because they represent the people, whatever Serville feels or reacts during this scene is what the overwhelming majority also believes and reacts. So we have this setup of the scene, and Serville goes around distributing the payments, and there seems to be something that upsets her, and she looks around and she sees that the strings of coins that she's giving to the outsider works are much smaller than the ones of the citizens, and it's with a deep frown that she approaches into the monster pens as the creatures are being prepared for today's games, and she just stands and observes as they go through this risky specialized work, and they are being exploited.
I think this is perhaps where Mydon is as well, and he's observing the great monsters from beyond being brought into the the arena, and he sees Sevilla, and he turns to her and says, "Ah, Sevilla, come to see the great work of our friends from beyond the walls."
Well, are they?
Of course, of course. We are all one humanity, standing against the divine wrath, and our lost brothers and sisters have returned to the city.
So how come they are only your friends instead of our brothers and sisters?
All of my friends are my family, and all of my family are my friends, Sevilla.
Yeah, but you see, and she shakes a purse and pulls out one string. This is what one of your friends is being paid for one day of work. You think this is fair?
Many stand behind the walls of the great ram, and many have stood for generations. In time, I am sure all things will settle to their natural state.
Oh, that's really nice. Did you predict that?
I may have seen something, yes.
How about making something happen today? Because in time,
Oh, I do not act, Sevilla. I am merely a conduit for the great forces of the universe.
well, you're gonna have to act. The people are becoming restless. They want to see something done. They don't. They see and love how you talk from the captain's chair, but they want to see things done. I know that you speak of the future and you see great things, but the people don't live on the long term. They have problems now. They need a home now. They need firewood now. They need to feed now. They have to think about their children and their spouses and their partners and their people that might be still wandering the deadlands. That's what people live on.
Mm.
As a prophet, I can understand that you might lose perspective, but yeah,
Indeed, and I rely on champions such as yourself, true heroes of the city, to remind me of the mortal requirements of life. You there, foreman?
Yes. Oh, this is an active work site. I don't know how you got into this space, but you do need to maintain a distance from the work site. These people are working with dangerous beasts.
Indeed, and now look at how well they work, my friend.
Yes, I am proud of the shop that I run. These people
Yes,
are skilled apprentices, and I couldn't do this job without them.
indeed, and my companion Sevilla here, she brings the payment for your team, and she has noticed the discrepancy between the payments for our good citizens and our new brothers and sisters from beyond the walls.
Well, yes, yes. Citizenship has its benefits. These people are newcomers. They are, as I said, apprentices. Um, they haven't quite earned the right to citizenship at this point, and that comes with its own detractions.
Sevilla laughs at that. I'm sorry, did you just call them apprenticeships? I recognize those people. Some of them came from a clan called literally the Born Builders. They are taming monsters. I cannot do that. I don't know many people that have citizenships that they can do that. How is that fair?
Oh, it's simply a matter of how this place is run. They've only been here for a limited time. You understand. If a born citizen were to come in to start working at their position, that born citizen would also receive reduced wages until they reached a certain level of seniority. Not as reduced as the newcomers, of course, but these
Of
people are
course,
able to make a living with less wages. They're used to living without much money at all on the outside. So I think it's absolutely generous of us to to grant them wages at all.
Well, there's not much of an economy outside, at least a coin economy. But if they tame the monster, they got all the benefits of taming a monster. It's the city of Creusus that gets the benefits of their work now. That has to be worth more than a few miserly copper coins.
Can I just ask a non-character question? With Dan playing an NPC, so it's not his character, but could he still fulfill the role of No?
No.
Okay.
Only when the character is on the scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the way it's working right now, to read between the lines, just to wrap my head around Kingdom, is you're the perspective, right, Ludo?
No, so I'm the touchstone.
Oh, you're the touchstone. Sorry, yeah, I got those two mixed up. So you're describing the attitude of the people, and the attitude of the people in general is that the outsiders are being exploited and are deserving of citizenship for their So that's the overwhelming thing. I like that, and I like that the NPC is conveying the idea of well, of course, but in time, give it time. A phrase that we have heard all too often across history, right? Yeah, just give it. Don't rush too far. Too fast.
200 years was not enough for capitalism to get it right. Give it.
Yeah. Well, I don't. So that's just one scene, though, isn't it? We can do multiple scenes in a crossroad. Yeah. Okay, and I think. I don't think that Maidon will exercise his authority in this particular situation. I think he will. I think at most he'll just say, "Now come now, Sevilla. I have heard your concerns, and but we must leave the foreman and his team to their work. For is it not the desire of all workers to do good work within the city?"
Indeed, and I have other places to be.
Indeed.
And I think it's a wrap of the scene unless Midden wants to do something.
I think that Maidon will simply, give that sort of like shaking hands and kissing babies sort of bullshit, like as he leaves, like, good work, my good friends, good work. It is amazing how you have survived the voice and you are building the great walls, but not actually committing to doing anything in this particular moment, right?
Okay, using my touchstone ability, I'm going to increase the crisis. And then because I resolved the scene, I can mark crossroad or crisis. I'm going to mark crossroads. Because the pressure to come up with a decision is building up. Okay, next. Open the keeper. Okay, next will be a Midden scene.
Well, I think we will have the scene at the captain's chair. And I think that Midon is speaking, on his pulpit to his followers and to whoever's nearby. And I think he is talking about how Bastion's great words laid down centuries ago told us that the ship Vargas would lead us to salvation. But it was not only our salvation, it was the salvation of all of our people, the people beyond the walls. They have returned upon the ship Vargas, as I predicted, as Bastion predicted, and they here within our great city. And I know it is strange after so long to have people from the outside among us, but I say to you, is this not the way that we shall forge our metropolis? How shall we deal with these things? These are the challenges that the gods have laid before us and upon us as mortals, and what shall we do? I can see the way, my friends, but only by following in the footsteps of Bastion and those who have come before us. And who is in that scene, effectively.
Alvo is definitely there.
Yeah. And is perhaps Villa there as well, or is it just Aldo?
I think she's probably on the market.
Okay.
Checking, visiting the temples, trying to get divine inspiration for a quest. And
Nice.
because, of course, Midden is speaking, everyone wants to see that.
Yes. And I think I have to say I'm struggling with setting the scenes for Kingdom, because I don't quite know where to draw the lines.
The best protocol is if you are the active character, you do the main scene.
Right.
So the setup that you described, develop it a bit more. Once it's done, then each of the other characters can react.
Right. Okay. So I will say that Myron is giving this this great speech to his followers, and Alvo is there as well in the crowd, like observing it. But there is also a perhaps a speaker from the opposing factions. The traditionalists is standing on the. He hasn't managed to claim the captain's chair today. Mydon got in there, using his followers and his sway with the people to snatch the prime spot. So on the the nearby other side of the market, there is almost a counter protest going on. And mixed among all that is also people who are, there are a few outsiders here and there dotted around the crowd, and little knots of people viewed suspiciously by some and favorably by others. Yeah. And Sevilla is, wherever she would like to be in that situation. Probably actually doing shopping rather than.
Actually, as the counter protest rises, a lot of the common people are getting in the way between the traditionalist oracles, and some of them have clubs, and they are making a circle around the captain's chair and preventing them from just storming in. So it seems that the people are actively protecting Midden and his right to prophetic speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the gist
Servilla is kind of seeing how the thing is going, hoping that things don't get too violent.
I think the gist of Mydon's speech is that the words of Bastian have steered us true, but only fresh eyes can bring the correct interpretation. For Bastian's words said nothing of the outsiders themselves. It was my interpretation of those words that led to this this great arrival of new people to the city. And the traditionalists, probably slightly unwillingly, are now put in the position of kind of opposing the outsiders by dint of the fact that they hold true to the original words of Bastian. So they're not outright xenophobic, but Mydon has manipulated the scene to be such. Does that make sense? Just to try and tie it back to the question of the outsiders rather than the Civil War kind of thing. Now, I will say that, like you say, the counter protest is going rough. They are pushing in. They are swarming towards Alvo in the crowd. They are pushing through. They are with their own staffs and clubs. So,
they're pushing towards Alvo.
yeah, they're pressing through the crowd to get towards Mydon, right, and try and disrupt this gathering of people. And as one of Mydon's followers, you are part of that crowd being pushed towards.
Makes sense. I'm going to, aside, sort of over my shoulder, urge Mydon. I would urge you, sir, to temper your words. These people may have more foresight than they know. Right now, the general public believes that the outsiders should be brought in full citizenship, but once they see the outsiders earning the same pay as them, purchasing homes next to theirs, their temper might change, and they may see the people who were up until moments ago their inferiors as their equals, and this might not make our citizens happy. Tomorrow, the other side may be the revolutionaries.
That sounds like a prediction.
That's my prediction.
So, how will you put that? And will you put that as a consequence of yes or no?
As I'm going to say, if yes, they are granted citizenship, I guess natural citizens will turn against the former outsiders. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right, yes.
I like that. That's exactly what I wanted you to say as well. Just to
Okay. So we both have reacted, so you want to do something else as the player on control of the scene?
No, I think he, as it gets, more and more, Maidon will fan the flames further and further until it reaches its crescendo, and then he will call upon the city guard to break up and whisk away his followers, basically, including Alvo.
Okay, so you get to advance either Crisis or the Crossroads.
Crisis is essentially it boiling over into a bad situation, right? And
yeah,
Crossroads is a solid decision.
Yeah, Crossroads basically power has to make a call.
Yeah. I think I would check Crisis actually for that, perhaps.
Okay. So next is going to be an Alvo scene.
All right. Let me see here. What are my locations? Yeah. I think later that day, or later that maybe the next day, Alvo is doing his same sales in the poor market, and is actually getting his hands dirty there, whereas in the more high class markets, he deals in such volume that he really just arranges deliveries rather than selling, bags of fertilizer. So yeah, I think he's got a market stand. It's a busy day, and I am not sure who else would be there. I don't know if Cervella or Maidon would deign to visit the poor markets.
I think Cervella might be there because she's trying to convince you that you would be doing a better job getting fertilizer shipped to the people if you had organized it with other night soil merchants, and maybe get a contract about whoever is cleaning the pens of the arena, because those things are really a mess.
I take your advice earnestly. I think that is a fantastic idea. As for delivery, this is my only contact with the more common people. Sometimes I'm up late at night and they're all asleep. Occasionally, I'll when I'm making the nightly rounds, I will run into night owl people. But this is important for keeping my wits about me amongst the common folk. However, Yeah, perhaps taking on a partner would be beneficial, so that I don't have to be in two places at the same time.
Is Milan there or playing a character there?
I'll play maybe the apprentice.
Oh,
that makes sense. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, I will play Sage the apprentice, who is perhaps an outsider.
Interesting. And Servilia is looking at the apprentice, and she gets like an idea, and she turns to Avo. You might not be able to contact with established people, even the poorest one, but there's a lot of people among the outsider clans that they are in need of work, and especially work that is actually paid well. And more important than actual payment, they're looking to be part of something, because the question of citizenship is often played out as, rights and duties and something that you have to earn. But the main obstacle for these people to escaping poverty is that the government, at least the traditionalist government, does not recognize social clubs made entirely of outsiders, and social clubs that have citizens on it. The citizen leadership does not want to have their political base and prestige diminished by having outsiders there. So maybe if you were to organize a place that actually welcomes them, that has them some ownership of the club, of the profits of the Night Soul business, you might get a lot of people that are in a position in which nobody is really giving them dignity and respect. And I think that might be better than all the gold in the world, because what is that if they are just as alone as they were when they were wandering the Deadlands.
Perhaps you're right. I don't know how appealing a position of night soil collecting will be to many of these outsiders, but it's honest work. And if they are having difficulty finding work elsewhere, it seems like a untapped labor market. And as far as pay, I can say I honestly, I come by my resources for free. It's just the labor and a little bit of mixing minerals to turn it into fertilizer and then sell it back to the same people who made it. I'll take your words. I will take your words under advisement. No, I truly appreciate the help you've given me today.
What is the apprentice's reaction?
The apprentice is happy for the work, and thanks, Master Ovo. Yes, Master Ovo, it is good that you have given me this opportunity. My brother, he can work too.
Oh, bring your brother around the shop. Bring your brother around. I'd like to meet him. And
yes, he is small but strong.
Fantastic. If he has a poor sense of smell, all the better.
He will do soon.
I think that's a good line to end that on.
Yeah. So, do you make a prediction?
I don't think I don't. I didn't intentionally make any predictions. Let's see. No one exercised authority. Do we, as the touchstone, do your sort of inputs on how the populace is feeling? Do those end up on either side of the crossroads card?
No. It's like power. It's I say how the people feel and how I feel, and that's how the people feel.
Great.
It's like so yeah. But you even if you did not make the prediction during the game, you can just make now. I use my ability and I add a prediction.
Okay. Let me see here. They are new citizens. No, if they are still outsiders. Whew. Let's see here. If they are granted citizenship, Well, that's a tough call. I think that the idea of them being available labor that can be it is very tempting to exploit available labor that doesn't have rights. Ooh, I'm in the position of all of the bosses. I'll make a prediction that if they remain outsiders, this isn't much of a prediction, but more businesses and more we'll say businesses will continue to exploit the outsiders.
Now that's a very accurate prediction. Yeah. Okay, you also get to mark either crossroads or crisis.
I think that was a crossroads. I think we maybe avoided crisis as best as possible. Shoop. Oh, come on. Oh, wrong button. Thanks. There we are.
Okay, now we have managed to play one entire round. Now there is an option which is open to us, because after you have played at least one scene with your current role, you can change your role. So if you feel like your role no longer fits the description, you can just say, yeah, I'm changing my role. Then you describe what you are doing to change that role, and you must pay the price. There's something that has to be costly to your character to represent this change. The only limitation beyond having to have played at least one turn with your character on that role is that if you use your ability this turn of your role, you cannot change. You cannot change and then use the ability of the new role. So if you use your power ability and you change on that scene, then you cannot use the perspective or touchstone ability. That's the only limitation. So after we had this meeting, I think I'm gonna have a scene night in the walls, and it's going to be a tense situation in which there are the bells of the temples are ringing, and there seems to be great fires at the distance, and there seems to be a lot of the outsiders are trying to rush in inside the city, and Servilla happens to be one of the first people in the scene. So who else could be there?
You say it is nighttime?
Yeah.
Is anyone else hearing that static? Okay. I think Alvo could be there. I think he makes the rounds at the wall.
Cool. I don't think Maidon is there.
You can bring your guard captain character now.
Oh yeah, Guard Captain Ovo. I forgot his name. Guard Captain Avan. Man the walls.
Oh.
Yeah, so let me set up the scene. So Servilla is there. She hears the call for the guards to wake up and man the walls. The northern gates remain open as more and more of the people seem to be trying to enter. And they seem to be panicking, and nobody is giving any concrete explanation. Uh, but the guards seem determined in not letting the outsiders enter, because for all intents and purposes there is still some order to be on. And yeah, it's very nice to talk that they should not be exploited and that they should get citizenship. But one thing is when that's abstract, another thing is when they are in panic trying to run through the gate. So the city is adamant in leaving them outside. Nobody is really addressing what caused their flight and panic. And Seville is there on the wall alongside the guards, tense, watching to see how the situation develops.
Guard Captain Arvin is barking orders and insisting that the walls remain shut, the gate remains shut. You know, when like, you know, nothing gets in that gate. Close the doors. You there, Night Soil Man? What are you doing here?
Well, I'm sorry. I wrong place, wrong time. I was
too right.
Collecting, and suddenly everything became very rushed and terrifying, and so I'm looking for a place of safety.
Right. Well, I guess here's the safest place for you. You just stand there. Don't get in the way. Anything comes at you, well, duck. Get behind that big wall, that big lass over there. He points towards Seville. Bloody outsiders. Goddamn shantytown. Used to have a killing field as far as the eye could see, and instead we got those things can get right among them.
Ooh.
Yeah, and Guard Captain Arvin will just continue swearing and thinking, unless anyone appeals to his, you know, like, what about those poor people? There's a scream. Well, it's not even my scene, so I'm just saying that maybe there's a scream off in the outside of camp.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the people tend to agree a lot with that the draconic measures that need to be implemented. You know, yeah, we're gonna neutralize them. Yes, we're gonna do it, but on our time. They don't get to come in and rush in and force us to do something. This is exactly what the people that oppose us say that they will do. They weaken our position by behaving like this.
Listen, I've got my orders. I follow them. Do you think I want to hear those people die down there? But the walls must stand. I swore an oath.
And Cyrilla turns to Alva. Alva, you know the best ways in and out of the city.
I know a few ways. I know the ways I take to and from the shantytown when I need to. Yes.
Can you find out what is with all these fires? It looks like it does not seem. The timing is weird. Does not seem like an accident.
You want me to go out into the wilds and find out what's happening during crisis?
Basically, yes.
Oh, I cannot do that. I generally say yes and, but this is not. This is deep in the night, and there are fires in the distance, and terrified people running from them.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good call, but it's certainly worth looking, you know, before someone else gets to the remains. I plan to check the place out first thing in the morning. I would be pleased if you were able to accompany me, at least to help me smuggle across the city walls. She whispers, trying not to get the attention of the captain of the guard right next to them as they are conspiring to violate curfew.
Yes, I can do that. With your martial skill, I can I can do that tentatively.
Yeah, because if someone is trying to set up these fires as an attack on the outsiders and to spread panic and fear, we need to know who they are and stop them, because clearly they are no friends of Cariustas, because this does not improve the situation one bit.
Servilla, you may be overlooking overlooking the obvious. What if we get out there and it is a monster, as is known to roam in the wilds?
Then we have another problem. We need to deal with the worst creatures ever, gods. I think it's a sin. So, first of all, does Alvo wants to make any predictions?
Oh, sorry. Finding the right tab. I don't think Alvo can make any predictions specifically to the crossroads question.
Okay. So, in that case, I'm gonna use my power to increase the crisis, and I'm making my decision to mark crossroads. And now it's going to be a mid-on turn.
What happens? So when the crisis box fills up, we
have to resolve the crisis, and then there's
right.
a procedure to do.
Okay.
A nasty one.
A nasty one. I think we will have a relatively quiet Maidan scene, who perhaps is literally in the aftermath of this nighttime raid, and he visits the northern wall where Sevilla has been standing watch throughout the night, perhaps, and he comes to see the destruction amongst the outside of Shantytown with his own eyes.
I think Serville is not going to be on this scene because she's going to be preparing to go scouting. So she's not going to be on her position now.
Well, perhaps that's where I find you, is preparing to go scouting. That makes sense. And basically, I'm trying to have a one-on-one scene where I can ask about...
Okay, if the entire purpose is to have her on the scene, then yes. She's still there. She's still there. It's down. She's still there. She's exhausted. There is ashes and smoke everywhere. Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, would Alvo maybe have been rallied in to show her a way in and out of the city?
Yeah. I think Alvo is also going on the same scouting expedition, and since the scare he got last night, is trying to stay close to the burly fighter.
Yeah, and it's daytime, so you can at least see it coming right now. Like, my friends, you said you stand ready to brave the walls, to go outside and see the darkness that has fallen upon our poor companions. You are most brave, Alvo, my dear follower. You will lead the way for Sevilla.
I will. I don't know if you've seen the people outside the gates, sir, but you might do well to take a look and take under advisement my mention the other day of the people's changing temperament once these people are granted citizenship.
Indeed, but how long can we stand and watch even non-citizens die? How long can our walls stand if they become a killing field for humans and not for monsters? Sevilla, you are brave to go forwards. What will... They tell me that the people are scared. They are frightened. Will you offer them hope in this hour of need?
The people are frightened for things that I cannot do. There's not a monster for me to kill. There's not a big quest to do for the gods, for they have not answered my prayers. The people need something that only you can give. And I have to say, Milan, the people are looking for leadership, and there's no real leadership anywhere. This is dangerous. This is when people start having weird ideas. This is what creates opportunity for, I don't know, someone that wants to seize power, to start to ferment fear by saying, making midnight rides into the shantytown and setting it on fire. This seems like you might be afraid of seizing power and oozing your position, make real change, but I'm afraid that if you don't do so, someone else will.
I have never sought to lead the city. I have only sought to guide it down the wisest path, but if what you say holds true, then perhaps I must step forward. As I wanted to be, to follow in the path of Bastion, but perhaps it is time to be a riser and step forward into the terrible void of leadership that the city holds.
Hopefully you sail better than whoever is manipulating this.
Yes. Yes. Well, may the words of Bastion guide you, my friends, and may you bring succor to those who need it beyond our walls. And I shall take your words under advice. Do you believe that? How do you believe this, Ovo? Do you feel it is time for me to step beyond the captain's chair and sit amongst the seat of power itself?
I feel if anyone is qualified, sir, you are.
Your words do me good standing, my friend. You know your shit.
True.
I think that's a scene. I don't know. I don't believe Ovo made a particular prediction there.
But they can always use the power.
Yes. And I think that what Maidon will do with his authority will order the gates open and order a detachment of the guards to, and he will say, like, guards, did not Bastion and Nerissa bring shepherd our people from disaster? Is it not your role to lead them on this voyage? Come now, go with these brave companions. Yeah, so I think I'm going to advance the crossroad on that one. And yeah.
So, Alvo, do you do any prediction?
I'm going to say that the infrastructure will be strained if these folks are if they are granted citizenship. That's my prediction. You know what? I'm going to take that one step closer. I think I don't see the logic in it, but I believe if these outsiders are granted citizenship, pestilence will begin to spread.
Very fitting for the Night Soil, man.
Which, of course, means that we must expand the walls. Great.
And the sanitation system. So now it's an alvo scene.
Well, I think logically the shantytown makes sense. The outside the walls. I'm fascinated to see. I'm fascinated to see the resolution of this mystery.
Yeah, and I guess that Serville is going to be there too.
And I think that you will find Sade, your Night Soil apprentice, among his people. He was unable to join you last night due to the gates being shut, and he was locked on the other side of the disaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's. Oh, Ludo, I think you are on mute.
Yeah, but I was not saying anything. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and set up the scene.
Great. I think we are poking through the. Remind me, it was some area of the shantytown that was on fire, or was it something more distant?
Yeah, it was some part of the shantytown, maybe a bit more distant, so to push people towards the wall and spread more cows as the people come running across the entire shantytown. So,
then I think we are poking around the edges of the areas that have been burned beyond recognition, and Sade is there with his brother. And I'd say, Sade, my man, how was your night? Were you affected by the fires?
We have lost our homes again.
This is your brother of whom we spoke earlier?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, Sade.
This is Ger, my brother. He's a 10-ish-year-old boy. Sade is like 16, 17, I think. We can work, Master Rovo. If you will have us today, we work. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Today is a good day to work. Yes, it will take your mind off of your losses. Your home was, I gather, it was burned in the night.
The fire spread. He points over towards like the smoldering ruins of a few of the shacks and lean-tos and so forth. And he says, "In the night it spread. We heard screams of a horse, the thundering of horses and shouting, and then the fire. It took the wall. Our friend did not get out."
That's no good, Sade. I'm terribly sorry for your loss. I want you to stay in the town after your shift. Meet me at the poor market at sunset, and you will be able to sleep in a bed tonight, within the wall, safe. You and your brother.
We are not citizens, Master.
Not yet, but someday you will be. And for the night, you are my guest, and no one needs to know about that. Tonight, you will sleep in a reasonable bed. I would say a fine bed, but I do sell people their own excrement, so it's an okay bed.
Thank you, Master.
Oh. Serville, these men tell me, these young men tell me that they heard horse hooves in the night and yelling. Sade, did you recognize the language this yelling was in? Was it a tongue native to outside the wall, or?
I heard words in the ram's tongue, but There were screams in the tongues of my people, and the clan of the Mount, and the rest. In the fire it was so much noise and shouting.
Oh.
There are no horsemen in Creustus proper. This suggests the involvement of clans.
Interesting. Clans speaking the tongue of the ram. Well, unfortunately, the mystery deepens. Let's see. A good prediction for this.
And Servilla looks around and she notices that the people really don't care. Now it's supposedly to be safe, but you would expect people would be bringing some kind of succor and support, food, blankets, something to the shanty town, even. But it seems that, especially once the gates were open, then they really stopped thinking of it as a problem. Even, of course, they were not just going to move in. The gates will not be open forever. So this is not a solution, but yeah, this is no longer a problem. That was a terrifying night, and we're probably gonna remember the night, but taking care of the place next, not a priority.
Okay, so you're saying that as Touchstone, the people in the city have sort of lost their empathy for the outsiders.
They may have empathy on an abstract sense, maybe with the outsiders that they work with, the ones that they see aside, but they don't have empathy for the shanty town and the people that are stuck in the shanty towns. They're doing nothing for them to recover. So basically, they see that as a non-problem. That these people have suffered so much that the few things that they had, they just lost.
Makes sense. Let me see here. I think the scene has sort of run its course. Let me see. Predictions. Do I have any predictions? I think if they're not granted citizenship, life outside the wall will become there will be life outside the wall will become untenable. The shantytown will become just a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
We'll see if I spelled that right. Not sure. And I am, you know what? I'm going to kick the can down the road and say that we moved a step towards crisis.
Okay, and I'm gonna say we take a break and we start next. 5 minutes.
Cool. Okay. 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes.
I'm assuming, Dan, that you've worked out that Maidon might be the person who orchestrated this fire in the thing, right?
Oh, that makes sense. Yes, I had not put that together 100%.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the clues that you left.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanted to raise though. We're at 3:15. We've only just about gone through the first crossroads. I do need to get to sort of head off around 4 o'clock. I think we was down for 3 hours, right?
yeah, actually, ending the game is part of the Crisis and Crossroads procedure. So,
Oh, okay, cool. I wasn't sure if we had to get through all three before.
No. As we do one of them, then we can actually end the game,
Cool.
which might be on this scene. So let's see how this goes.
Okay.
I'm thinking that Servila is on the Octopus Village because she's trying to convince someone to take her on a boat around Kriostos, because she's confident that the whoever was responsible was careful to prevent tracks from and clues to being left. Also, the fire took care of most of them. But if they actually rode through horses, they probably took a long path. And because only around the sea is relatively safe, so they probably left a lot of tracks alongside the coast. So she's trying to convince some fisher folk to take her on the ship to go up and down the coast looking for clues. So who else would be in Octopus Village?
I think unexpectedly for Sevilla, Maidon is there as well. And Maidon will say that it came to me in a dream. Eight fingers wrapped around the city, wrapped around the ram's head, pulling it down into the ocean. And I saw you stood above it, Sevilla. And so I know that my place is here alongside you.
Oh, I think Alvo is going to sit this scene out, but I can be a dock worker or a fisherman.
Yeah, maybe someone that is reluctant to take Servila, but she does not have a lot of luck. So she's really trying to convince him.
My friend, good fisherman. As you feed our bellies, you must provide us with the food of knowledge and take us out upon the land. A brave hero stands before you, and the city's eyes are on you. And I'm using authority to order you to take Sevilla out on the out onto the waves.
That makes sense. I'm going to challenge that and say my first, sir, my first responsibility is to filling my family's bellies. I have plenty of work to do besides shepherding people around. I have fish to catch and fish to sell.
I see a dark future ahead for those who do not heed the words.
Very well, very well. I will take a very limited payment. Please understand this is a great favor I'm providing you, sir.
Yes.
What happened to not using your power? These seem relatively minor obstacles to lose your influence.
What happened to asking me to use my power for the good of the people?
Well, and she looks at the fisherman. Do you feel, my good citizen, that this was for your own good?
It is often hard for those of us carried away by the currents of fate to see the safe port that it leads to. We must trust that the voyage is steered by firm hands.
And I guess with that, I have my answer. You don't even let the poor man answer.
Exactly. I'm using that position of power and authority to just steamroll over this poor guy.
All right, he said a lot of nautical terms, and it sounded very good to me. So I have to assume he has the best intent. It sounded very pretty.
Yeah.
Well, all right then. I guess we get the bed sailing, unless you have something to tell me, Maiden.
No, I am sure that your keen eyes will light the way on this mortal plane as my own sight casts the way through the divine.
Indeed. I was wondering, with so many fires, how come you did not see any on them?
A wise man once said that the only truly perfect sight is the sight of yesterday retreating into the distance. As we look forward, we see but glimpses, mere shadows of what may be.
God, this guy's good. Hey, you should go to that. There's a place in the town. It's called the Captain's Chair, I think. You've got to go and stand on that and say this stuff. This is great stuff.
Thank you, my friend. I may take you up on that. Would I see you perhaps there?
Oh, once my wife goes into town to the market every Wednesday, but
I do invite you to come, my friend. Please join me.
Oh, fine. I tend to sell fish in the poor markets, but maybe I could sell some fine catch in the market. But yeah, on a day that I hear that you're speaking.
Oh, be there upon whatever time frame we have established calendar exists within this game. Yeah, man of the people, Maidon, spreading his populist rhetoric. Yeah.
I guess I don't have any ideas of what to do on the scene.
So my question would be perhaps we can either finish the scene here, or it's it's what we discover upon our voyage along the coast. And I feel like, okay, to break the scene in the diegetic, like, the in-character sort of part of it, my idea of this is that Maidon, through proxies, paid one group of outsiders to raid the outsider camp and burn it down, and set a fire and cause panic and chaos, to drive the outsiders to further desperation and fear, to raise tensions within the city, and so to sort of, he's essentially like creating instability for himself to step into whatever and to be all things to all people, effectively, And his ultimate goal is to bring the outsiders into the city on the strength of the argument that they will all die out there if they do not.
So I'm gonna change my goal.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to perspective, and these will be the consequences of severely going to explore outside. So I'm gonna lose my power, and I'm not going to advance either of them. So I'm gonna become perspective, and the price that I play is I lose the support from the college of mint workers because I've been skirting on my jobs, and I am not seen as politically neutral. I'm playing way too much of a role. And now we're gonna have a midden scene, which would be perfect to frame the resolution to the mystery.
So, I think that Maidon is standing not at the captain's chair this time, but in the poor market. And he is speaking to the poor people of the city. And he is saying, and the captain from the boat is there on his fisherman's market, listening raptly with attention, and he is effectively calling out for to the people of the city that we must, the city has stood in indecision for too long. We can no longer turn our backs upon our brothers and sisters. They face threats from both without the city and from within their own people. They were raided. The ways of the outsiders are not the ways of the city of the Ram, but we must show them the light, as they have come from the darkest shores of history and time and the god's wrath to come to our shining beacon, and only by opening our gates and bringing them within to our bosom may we raise them up and teach them the ways of citizenship, the brotherhood of mankind that stands within the city of the Ram. Are we not the survivors? Are we not the followers of Bastion and Erisis? Did not the words of Bastion say that we would draw the walls against the darkness without? The traditionalists, they see nothing but the base words of Bastion. They see nothing but the safety of our walls. But they would allow them to be burned from without, to be broken from within, from the distrust and the fear we must hold dear to ourselves, brothers and sisters. We must hold together. He's basically rabble-rousing and saying that, like the outsiders are poor people who must be saved from themselves as much as they must be saved from the outside world. And only by bringing them into the city can we truly do our duty and, keep things safe by keeping them within and contained rather than wild and loose.
Yeah, it's at this moment that the crowd clears and Servila comes with a sword cut in her face and throws a prisoner on the floor, a known member of Midon's retinue. Tell me tell these people what you told me when I beat you. Tell you who has been setting fires to Shady Town, who has been trying to manipulate the events, who has been trying to make our prophecies true on his own terms.
And I think that Maidon will look at the fallen captive, and he will reach over to him. And Dan, do you want to play the fallen captive, or do you want to be Alvo in this scene?
Oh, I was thinking of being Alvo. I can step in as the fallen captain.
Well, no, I have an idea. I think you should be Alvo, because I have an idea here for what's going to happen between Maidon and the battered man. He's going to kneel down to the battered man, and he's going to touch his face. He says, "Yes, my son. Tell them who." And blinking back the tears and like bleeding, and he will say, "It is Corfai. Corfai is the leader of the traditionalists, the leader of the group." And Maidon will smile and wipe away the tears on the man's face and say, "Is this true, my son?" And he will look over at Sevilla and say, "Thank you, brave hero. Thank you for bringing word of this great betrayal to the city, to us."
Indeed, this teaches a lesson about trusting in prophets.
Yes. Now, did Sevilla? I'm assuming that Sevilla. What was Sevilla told?
Sevilla was told that it was Maidon.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And he says, "Indeed."
And also, Midden was very interested in getting her out of town.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and he will say, Ovo, my loyal follower, take our friend, our former friend here. Take Briny. No, not Briny. Briny's a shit name. Sorry. take Yobil.
Yobil.
Yeah. Take him. See to his wounds. And take him to the guard.
Yes, sir. Alvo looks over to his night soil or his fertilizer stand, which is now manned by half a dozen outsiders, and gives them a nod to say as though I'll be back. And he takes what was the Yovo?
Yovel, yeah.
Yovel. Takes Yovel to the guard.
And Maidon continues to pontificate about the and he starts leading a little like rally of people to like go and like siege the traditionalists who have turned the outsiders, who have attacked those poor people outside. And does this not show the infamy that we must fight back against? They're not twisting the words of Bastion to their own ends. In fact, as it said in Bastion's prophecy, blah blah blah. Yeah. And I imagine Sevilla sharpens a knife as she sees Maidon lead this crowd.
Yeah, I think Sevilla is making a prediction.
Yeah.
Because this is not going to be a genuine movement for the actually interested in the outsiders and giving them leadership. So she predicts that the interest on the citizenship will only last until that is granted, and if on the one day everyone is given citizenship, on the second day whoever is in power will pass legislation that discriminate between people anyway. So that's the prediction, that on the day
citizens.
Yeah, on the day that they are given the same qualifier citizen, laws will be passed to mark them as second-class citizens and keep the abuse going.
Cool. And I'm going to mark that as a crossroads.
No, wait. Avo can still make.
Oh yeah, Avo was involved in this scene. So what was Avo's? As he walks away, what does Avo foresee that this development will lead to?
I think Alvo is going to negate one of his own predictions, the pestilence prediction, and is going to say, friends, I've seen life outside the walls, and I have seen the good that these people can do for us. I've taken on a number of laborers from their rank, and together they and I are able to will be able to provide fertilizer for more ample crops, and together we will be able to move the increased waste.
I'm sorry. I'm just like, there'll be more shit. So
there'll be more shit, but we'll do stuff with it. It'll be great.
I like it. Sorry.
So I think they can take care of their own. They can take care of their own infrastructure in that sense. So I'm going to negate that. And back.
Actually, you don't delete it.
Oh, you don't delete it? Oh, do you strike through?
No, neither. You add a new one.
Oh, okay.
But that's the thing. You can say if it comes true or not.
Oh.
So you can actually have the two contradictories, and you have this word of Damocles swinging over which one you will confirm or deny. So you can have the possibility until it solves that. So yeah. So you add the new one.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay. I've written outsiders. The outsiders will remedy the foreseen strain on our infrastructure.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, line 12.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, some sync error.
Okay, so now you market crossroad, right? Okay, so we're gonna start the solving procedure. Step 1, are we ending the game? Yes, we are. 2, set the stage. So, the crossroad, will the outsiders be granted citizenship? And we have one option. Yes, they are now accepted as citizens. If this happens, former citizens will turn against the new citizens, pestilence will spread. The lack of the sincerity in the movement means that immediately after citizenship is granted, there will be no resistance to laws discriminating against new citizens, making them second-class systems and allowing the exploitation to continue. And outsiders will remedy the strain of infrastructure. If they are not granted citizenship and they remain outsiders to Curiostus, business will be able to keep exploiting the labor of outsiders. Life outside of the wall will become unattainable as conditions deteriorate and there seems to be no interest in improving them. And yeah, those are the two choices. Now, every player that is a power can vote yes or no.
Well, I vote yes.
All right.
Okay. Now we know that they will be granted citizenship. Then we're gonna see which predictions come true. So we're gonna go through each prediction of the winning side. And whoever controls the prediction is going to say if this will happen or not. And if the prediction becomes true, you narrate what your character sees happening that hints that this became true as the citizenship is granted. So we're going to start with former citizens will turn against the new citizens.
I think that does come true to an extent. The animosity is underground, at least for the time being, but there is a quiet spread of animosity towards the new citizens.
They no longer find it so easy to get jobs. Like, people were more willing to hire them back when they had no power, right? And now that they have citizen rights, they're almost like second choice whenever it comes up.
Okay.
I think what Alvo sees specifically is an unwillingness among some natural-born citizens to do business with him because his business is largely run by new citizens.
So next question. Pestilence will spread. Is it true or false?
I'm going to say that's false.
Okay. Next, that there will be second-class citizens. Yes, it will happen. And we see on the captain's chair next to it, there are 10 bronze tablets that are fixated mere months after this was legitimating, dictating the terms of the citizenship. And we see that most of the previous divisions that was a bit to be between outsiders and citizens not only have been formalized, they also are based on propriety, which is very bad considering that all outsiders have barely anything. They were underpaid and they used the majority to live in shanty towns. So of course this disproportionately affects outsiders. So for all intents of purposes, citizens without a minimum propriety cannot become judges, cannot vote, cannot even serve as part of social clubs, cannot be heroes. And it seems like every single day there is a new exclusion that is added to these formal ones. And slowly the society starts to calcify around this idea that they have the same opportunities, but they just don't get it because of their own faults.
And outsiders will remedy the strain on infrastructure?
I'll say that's true. Alvo's business continues to grow and runs into competition from other infrastructural businesses. The outsiders providing a unfairly cheaper labor from multiple perspectives, aid in the construction of newer, more dense living spaces. So the island is able to, or the city is able to make use of its limited space and resources more effectively. Even though it does depend on the second-class nature of these citizens and their exploited labor.
Okay, because we don't have a touchdown, we have no idea how the people are reacting to this. So what we do is we are going to secretly choose between one finger or two fingers. And when I count down to 3, we all reveal the same number of fingers, the number of fingers that we pick. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we did not get the same number of fingers.
I think we all put up a 2.
Yeah.
Okay, because we put all the same number of fingers, there is no crisis. So the people are not troubled by how the crossroads turned out. So the people see the issue as solved, and perhaps the outsiders still have not realized how screwed they were over this.
I think I've just realized one thing. The crisis is is like a master clock, right? The crossroads is a resolution. The crossroads counter is a resolution for the crossroads that we're at, right? The decision, like so the question that we're talking about, like the outsiders, right? But the crisis time track is actually would be across all 3 crossroads. Is that right? It doesn't reset when you go to the next one, right? It's like a kind of and time passes kind of like a master clocks.
Yeah, because then the crisis can also mess with the others and add more crossroads and other stuff. Yeah.
Right. So we were inevitably going to reach a crisis if we did play further on. Because
actually, when there is more than one touchdown, the crisis feels fast.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's it. So unless anyone wants to take a stand, but I don't think anyone wanted.
No.
I mean, you're getting what you wanted. You cannot take a stand against yourself.
No.
And Servila, I don't think she's doing it at this moment, unless Avo is taking a stand.
No, Avo is having a good time, feeling happy.
Okay. Next would be to move on to the next crossroads. So, just as a mental exercise, what will be the next crossroad? Because if this was going to continue as normal, the next scene will be Alvo's scene, and Alvo will be the one proposing a new crossroads.
I'd say the resolution of the previous crossroads feeds really nicely into the concern about civil unrest turning to civil war, be it between the traditionalists and the revolutionaries or otherwise.
So
Sevilla and Maidon, perhaps.
Or maybe the actual, in terms of the kingdom, that would be, will the traditionalists be cast out of power? Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. Okay. This was Kingdom. We managed to play through a crossroads.
Yeah.
I mean,
it took me a long time to get my head around all of it.
It's less intuitive than Microscope.
I also think that maybe, like, being the power character, it was particularly in the situation where with like your two characters as well, right? It was not. There wasn't many. It wasn't until the end where I actually clarified that part where I could give an order that would only happen under one or the other situations, right? So like as power, I can set up orders that I will give that will only take place if yes or no happens.
Actually, no, that is one of the rules that they changed.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
yeah, because because that added a lot of steps to the game that really did not pay off. Because the payoff on the crossroads, it seems like it will be a good thing that you are negotiating, but then this really does not affect the game. So it's better, if you want to bribe someone to favor one position or nothing, just do something they would like, because it's going to have the same effect, and it's much easier because you don't need any extra bookkeeping. Also, you don't lose effect if you change from power.
I see.
Because that's the problem. If you start to tempt people, you are also giving incentive for people to overthrow you. So just so you cannot give you what you promised. So, it kind of fizzles. So it's not fun for either party. So it's better if you want to do now, do on the moment. That's why they removed this rule.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. It felt like there's a lot of weight on the perspective character.
Oh yes,
because up until some predictions are made, it's kind of abstract yes or no, right? So like I think it's like I was if we played for longer, I was certainly going to shift Maidon into a perspective character rather than a power character. Which would obviously like fit naturally in within his role anyways, right? Which is how he's manipulating. This is how he's holding power anyways, is perspective effectively.
Yeah.
But without the perspective, power's not really got a decision to make. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, their decision is outside of much context. The perspective sort of creates the the perspective.
Yeah, but I think that's the strength of the other roles, because otherwise it's terribly imbalanced to power. If you don't have a perspective, you don't know what will happen. If you don't have a touchdown, you have zero clue what is going on.
Yeah, I do think that like to play again in the future, I would maybe go with like, with 3 people, for example, like maybe 2 perspectives and a touchstone, and then like after you'd gone round around, like encourage people to step into the to change roles up, just so that you get like a kind of a couple of rounds of baseline sort of thing.
I actually am surprised that we did not change roles more often, because usually someone at some point is going to say something that the others really don't like, and that creates an anxiety. But I think we work too well together that everyone is okay. I'm going to stay on my land.
Yeah,
because usually it's like, no, I don't like that. I challenge you. Oh, you keep going that? Okay, I have to overthrow you. So that's usually, it's very rare the Kingdom game which makes after the second round without someone overthrowing.
Well, I would have probably. So the way I would like to have overthrown is not quite the way that overthrow works, which was to basically shove Ovo into power somehow. Like Maidon basically takes a step back and elevates Ovo to be like the head of the new city council. And,
I mean, that's just a change.
That's
just the same change. Yeah.
And then steps back into the perspective role himself. Yeah. But I feel like I think I really fleshed out the whole kind of like the tension around the outsiders and how much of a shit Maidon is.
Yeah, actually, in terms of stars, I really liked when I dropped the hint of the fires, how everyone immediately recognized what was going on. And we did not plan even together, but we were instantly on the same wavelength, and we fed on what we could see, and we ended up doing something that I never did in Kingdom, which is to have a mystery. And it was really interesting because, again, I never did a mystery on this game. This is not a game for mysteries, because you have characters that can literally predict the outcome. How there can be a mystery? Well, there was one.
Yeah. Well, my star is Toledo for guiding us through this system, and like, you know, providing us with sort of like the way to go in each bit, because I was really, really like, I knew roughly how it was supposed to work, but I was just finding it hard in the scene to actually like make scenes constructive. You know?
To be fair, this is also a problem that I have with Microscope. I have that problem even worse on Microscope scenes. That's why it's one of those things that I have heavily house rule.
I really like your house rule. I really enjoyed that sort of. Each of you propose a thing, and I like the main person decides which one of those is going to be the right. Kind of feel like you're borrowing the perspective from this.
It was actually a mix between the perspective and the way that Devil's Bargain work on Trophy. Yeah. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna do like perspective, but I'm gonna make it a double share thing, like it works on Trophy. Yeah. And it actually worked pretty well. Yeah, but these games are really, I think, setting scenes is always the worst these games are at. But once you get used to it, you get this very clear notion that I set the scene, ask who's there, make the scene, let people react, and it's over. Once you get on that pace, which is not how we usually organize scenes on most story games, but if you get into this logic, you know, get the cast, set the main act, have reactions to that, then it actually flows. But yeah, it's really tricky.
Thank you for letting me, both of you, for letting me just spout absolute nonsense as Maidon, by the way.
That was
amazing. Yeah. Really getting into character.
Thank you for taking on the say morally and ethically ambiguous, we'll say villain of the piece, depending on your perspective.
So my rough idea of Maidon's overall goal is essentially personal power and destabilizing the structure of the city to gain it, but with the intention of building a better city. You know, like making it built, like expanding those walls, rebuilding an actual civilization rather than just a bastion on a last holdout. And he can't do that until he's destroyed the structures that are in place already.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to ask you on wishes is, would you play Kingdom again, and if you prefer Kingdom or Microscope? Because I might be running either of those again on September.
Do you want to go first, Dan?
I have a strong preference for Microscope. I think now that I've gotten sort of my footing in Kingdom, this is my first time playing it. I think I got just past the main rules in the book before today. But now having tread into it a little bit, I would play this again. But yeah, Microscope just has a very special place in my heart.
I agree with that on everything. I think with Kingdom, I would probably be more interested in the smallest of scales, like, you know, the examples of like a hospital or like a spaceship or something, you know, like a smaller scale than a city, because it's
my favorite game of Kingdom was on a space station with like 50 people and with 12 players. And it was really something. Yes. those crossroads and crises feel fast.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, and imagine power with like a voting system. Like
yes, because there was, at some point, there were 8 power players.
Yeah, I like that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I imagine you had to like summarize rather than do full scenes. Like, you know,
Yeah,
what is your
the scenes are who's here with this, what happens now. Very fast to go around everyone. But the thing is, you know, everyone had already a very clear idea by the time it got to their time to set up a scene. And we had a lot of locations on the space station, so we really saved a lot of time on the setup.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, I agree totally, Dan. I definitely like prefer Microscope as a system, as a concept. But I do like Kingdom, and I would, like I say, I would like to explore like a narrower focus for Kingdom. Like,
yeah, that would be really interesting. And speaking of that, there is someone that did something that I have no idea how it works. Someone set a 5 games Kingdom on September on the Gauntlet. I want to see the videos of that because it must be really something. It really must be something different. I cannot even imagine how it will be by the 2nd session, much less by the 5th. So I want to check that once they get the videos out. And and they already established it's about the Dwarven Kingdom. So
I saw that one. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 5 whole sessions.
It was 5. It is 5 sessions that they put on the calendar. I want to see that.
That's the one from the book, isn't it? Like, one of the suggestions is that the dragons left. The dragon is left, and the dwarves have reclaimed their kingdom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how they're gonna do it. Okay. So speaking of videos, are you okay with me uploading this?
Yep.
Okay. So have a nice Saturday. See you next time.
See you guys next time. Thanks for playing. Loved it.
Yeah.
Bye.